My name's Gordon Chisholm. I have a background in about 35 years of corporate packaged goods marketing. And most of this has been in the realm of adult beverages. I enjoyed a 21-year career with a company called Bacardi of spirits fame. The expertise area I have are a few different areas. I would describe those as branding. I would describe it as communications, and I would add to that sales enablement. For small businesses, as with any big business, it's all about your branding, and your branding is all about how you choose to position yourself in the marketplace. So I'm able to help you with things like what should be your brand architecture? What's going to be your portfolio of products? Do you want to brand those as a house of brands? Or do you wish to brand them using a different type of a strategy? Things like brand identity, packaging, tone and voice, and ultimately, the research to make sure that what you're doing is going to be resonating with consumers as opposed to just what you feel is the right thing to do. It includes a degree of that. By way of communications, I think this area is more kind of self-explanatory. This is where you're developing your creative strategy. What's going to be your narrative, or as you often hear, what's your story? It's about what sort of content are you going to develop to communicate about yourself? So it's not just what you say, but it's where you show up and how you're saying it. Within the sort of same communications area, you would include here things like your public relations, your outreach efforts, your advertising. And then that third area I talk about is sales enablement. Ultimately, to sell something, it's not enough just to hire a salesperson. You need to equip them with actual tools. So that might be sales collateral. It might be something physical like a brochure or a sell sheet, or it might be something where through a digital marketing funnel, you basically traffic consumers to get them showing up as reaching out and asking for more information about the product. So what should clients expect from SCORE? And I would kick this off by saying the most important thing probably is around setting expectations. We've probably all heard that saying about if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach a man how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. And ultimately, of course, I would add to that all of those people that he is going to economically enable by sharing his learning. So mentoring it's about learning, and it is about being guided. So at SCORE, you have an array of amazing resources. You have access to expertise, people who've actually learned from their successes and from their mistakes. And I think some of the best learning comes from mistakes. But you get that opportunity to have a one-to-one relationship, a mentoring relationship, which is something which SCORE does really well. We talk about for the life of your business. So we're a long-term partner. We are there to provide navigational advice, to provide suggestions and direction. Essentially, the client is doing all of the work, of course. We're not here to execute on behalf of the client, but we provide that guidance. Other resources as well, we have an amazing electronic library. So based on a client's learning style, if you prefer to consume things for yourself at your own pace, there's a whole electronic library, both on jacksonville.score.org and also on score.org, where you can access white papers, clips, videos, basically information about almost everything you might think of as a question as a small business, because you're not the first in this area and there's a lot of material available for you and accessible to you. If on the other hand, you are more active, an active learner, you like to be around people, we also host live workshops. Or for example, right now, Jacksonville, we have the CEO Forum, where based on selection criteria, CEOs can mingle with other CEOs to talk about important networking issues. So ultimately, I would say between mentors, workshops, and the library, SCORE has a lot to offer. I will just add the onus remains always on the client. We're here to guide your journey and to inform you and to provide you with navigation. At the end of the day, we can also be your accountability partner. I know with several of my clients, when I'm meeting with them, more often than not, they're asking me to also be their accountability partner to keep them on track. A particular client of mine who I love to talk about is a gentleman who really exhibits everything that it is to be an entrepreneur. He's courageous, he's innovative, he's a go-getter. He really is good at not just strategy and articulating a vision, but he's really good at executing against it. And specifically in this case, he has launched a vodka. That vodka is called Lumiere vodka. And along the way with him, it was about developing a positioning and the product itself. We talked about whether he should try to do it himself, as in producing, distilling, or leaning into a partner or a co-packer, a distiller who was already established. So that was the latter route that he chose, and ended up working with a distiller in Holland. So he's creating vodka in Holland, but we also discussed how he wanted to integrate some kind of an ingredient that would create a point of difference for his vodka. And the solution we landed on was something called panela sugarcane. So essentially the product that comes out, the product that sort of comes out of the fermentation and the aging process, has this point of difference which can be easily leveraged and talked about in any kind of marketing communications, whether it's to the trade to get their interest, to distributors to get them to carry the product, or ultimately to consumers to create some talk value around an ingredient. We also went through, before actually committing to product, we looked a lot into cost of goods. In his case, if you think of a bottle of vodka, it's going to be everything from, the cap that goes on the bottle, the product, the actual glass itself, or it could be plastic, but he opted for a metallic substrate in the end, which is the bottle, liquid itself, and then the ingredients that go into the liquid, the labels, the packaging, the shippers. So along that journey, I was able to help him a lot in terms of understanding economies of scale, standardizing some items so that he could get to an achievable break even, so he could actually then go ahead and look to generate a profit off the brand. We looked at things like pricing, we looked at positioning, we did a white space analysis against other premium vodkas in the market and where he wished to position himself. We chose Grey Goose, we chose Belvedere as being his comparators, and we positioned the product appropriately, both in terms of pricing, look, feel, and the way in which we're communicating the brand to his trade partners. The other piece, I think, which was very helpful for him was being able to learn about the route to market. In the US, the route to market is very complex. We have a system that was based basically off prohibition and the prohibition era, where by law, there is a 3-tier system. The person who supplies the product or creates the product is not necessarily in many states allowed to actually sell that product to the consumer. So you're forced to go through intermediaries like wholesalers, distributors, and the retail trade. And then finally, I think also maybe a value add for my client was being able to lean into experience that I have around understanding compliance issues. This is be the correct regulatory filings with the correct entities in order to be able to operate the company legally, both at the federal level and also at a state level.